today we are joined by the beautiful Aline Amike. Yes, she's a fashion designer. She's on your profile on Instagram. You call yourself Smith. So we'll be getting to know more about the brand, her fashion brand, and also more about her as a fashion designer. So let's start our interview. So you can start by telling us who you are and how did everything start for you with the fashion.
Well, Aline Amike, as you said, and I've always been drawn to things people do with their hands. I have a background in sewing and weaving, and yeah, I used to spend like a lot of time with women in my village, and we would weave together mats, me check, nuduseke, you know, and then fast forward. I went to school, I came back, and I felt that these women who gave me this gift, I have the knowledge, I have the education to turn this into an entrepreneurial big thing, and yeah, I love art. I'm an artist and try to find a way to combine this. I had a dream of being a fashion designer, but I wasn't sure yet because, when you think fashion, you think of flowy dresses and everything, but I created my own role, you know, based on how those women nurtured me and gave me, the gift of handcraft. So I went back to them and I, gave them a business proposition and they agreed to come here and work with me. So they are the women you saw. Yeah, so that's how everything started, I would say.
You talked about you loved fashion, but I want to know, did you even know what fashion is? You loved fashion designing, but was it because every most of the people in the fashion industry, people that I've talked to with different interviews that I've done, the most of them start with modeling. They first get to be attracted by modeling, then they later on discover fashion. They start really developing their talent. But did you know, as you said, in your village, did you know even what fashion designing was?
I would say I understood what fashion was. I just didn't know it had a name. Yeah, I didn't know it was called fashion, but I knew it's like creating something that adorns the body. I knew this within me, and I was very much attracted to things that, look beautiful or making things look beautiful to complement someone's body. So I guess I did understand fashion. I just, didn't know it was an actual thing.
The way you started and where you are right now, most of the youth in Rwanda, when they start fashion, they go with the bigger picture fashion, the dresses, things like that. But for you, you went to handmade. Like, tell me, why was that special? Like, what attracted you? Said the story, you went back home and you were like trying to give back to the women that raised you, but I don't think that would be the only it factor of like not doing what others are doing, not doing the typical designing. We know the dresses, the wedding gowns, things like that. But for you, you went to the hardest part of it, sewing and beading, using beads. Why was that important for you?
I don't know. I think for me, the first thing that I do in my life is to listen to myself. Like, really, really listen and follow my own journey. I mean, I think in the beginning, I thought, what if this doesn't work? What if, I'm bringing something new, and what if the response is not what I need it to be to survive? Because, it's a passion, but it's also a business. Like, you need people to buy your things so you can grow that dream, you know? But I took a risk, and I bet on myself, and I trusted, I had faith in the women that gave me the gift. Yeah, so I think it's like when you strongly believe something, other people believe it too. You know, you just find a way to make, not find a way to make people see something that you see, but it's like when you're so authentic and true to, you know, like for me with my designing journey, with what I'm doing, other people can radiate, like that light can radiate to other people and they can kind of catch on that.
So take me through the process. How does like the headpiece you are wearing right now? How does that the process you go through? Take me through that process. How you work with your people, because we visited your store, your studio. So take us through the journey. How many hours does it even take to accomplish something like that? So tell us, take us through the process of like doing one product from your collections.
Because I am the creative director, I make a design and then I make a sample. So this is the lonely part of the journey, because it's like try and error. You put the beads together, and the beads, they're really, really stubborn. You know, they're very stubborn. You have to put them together in a certain way using a certain pattern for it to even look like this, or to have like a structure. Yeah, so after I make the sample and I'm sure that it works, I then take it to my team. And then, one person is putting beads on the thread, another one is helping me with the, arranging, like for the top part, or even if it's for a bag, like, we do the base, and then we just, like every person there at the place it knows how to do everything. Like, that's my aim. Yeah, so when I finish the samples and I take it to them, we just, whoever gets it first explains to the others. So that's how it works. Like, and sometimes another person too can come up with another way of getting to that design. Because after all, it's about like someone being able to think for themselves and put some input.
You are very few people, the designers, that really use beads as a way of designing, because most of them, they really do the same thing. But in creating and the competition out here in Rwanda, what do you think about the industry in terms of using the beads and in terms of people buying from you? Do you think Rwandans get what you do?
I would say they do somehow. Most of them do, not most. A few of them do. But those people are enough to keep the dream running. And actually, I do have competition. And and I guess I'm the only one who does actually what I do. Yeah, like in a fashion sense, in building an enterprise, and in making beads into a luxury, to make luxurious products that are, inspired by a lot of things I've seen in my childhood. And I feel like the industry here, it needs some of that. It needs someone who is bold, who stands on their choices, for them to know that they can stand on their bold choices too.
Had a collaboration with Izuba during the Rwanda Fashion Week. So tell us, what was the inspiration behind the collection that we saw on the stage? It was, you got to show the collection to the king now and the queen. And what was the inspiration behind the collection that we saw at Rwanda Fashion Week?
So the inspiration, the headpieces and the bags, it's called Elements of a Woman. It was my first collection ever to ever put, to make products that are kind of chronological, if I could call it that. Yeah, and it was more about collaborating with Izuba, with Elodie, and sometimes, making compromises, because things have to go together. There are a lot of things that in the collection that I didn't get to show, but I'm happy that the ones that I did get to show were in how do you say that? I don't know. It's like a marriage, you know, the way syncing with, like, yeah, the collection from Yuzuba. So it was more about making our things go together. Yeah.
So far, how many collections do you have, and are you planning to do another collection? So tell us how is the production going these days?
Now I am getting ready to launch my studio space and a physical store for Amike. So now I'm working on a collection called The Pianist. It's inspired by music. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like inspired by like the waves of, like, you know, when you hear music. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Yeah. The deeper part of music that you creates a sight that you only hear. I don't know if that makes sense. Yes. So my whole point of my not the whole point, but one of the things that are persistent in my brand, in my inspiration, is movement and sound. Yeah. So now I'm trying to do something that really emphasizing on sound, and what better thing to use than music? Yeah. So now I'm going to launch the studio space with the collection. Yeah.
On your daily basis while creating stuff, where do you get your inspiration? You know, because you told me that the musical part of this collection, but I mean like on a daily basis, because we saw some of your designs at your place. We saw some luxury bags, you know, handmade like bags, and also these high-end fashion bags. We saw even other stuff, the headpieces. Tell us, what is your inspiration on a daily basis while you are creating your designs?
My inspiration comes from random things. You know, sometimes I just think of, okay, so most of the thing with beads, you have to put things in order for them to make. There are different patterns, and sometimes I try to make my own patterns that are not the patterns that are out there. And you know, like, so it's the patterns, not the bags. The inspiration is not for the bags. It's for the patterns rather, and it's like those patterns that then go on to make one thing. So let's say if I have like what I was telling you about, this collection being inspired by movement and sound. It's like, yes, I mean, what is going to inspire the pattern? I could think and be like, oh wow, I really like the 70s vibes, like the, you know, like the piano keys, you know. But then to make that pattern, it's the pattern that the patterns that inspire me, the patterns of things, and or the lack of pattern in life. Like, I get inspired by the most ridiculous things. You know, like, yes, I mean, it could be a street sign, you know, it could be someone I saw dancing, it could be a street light, you know. So it's a lot of things that come together, and I like to kind of combine things that would be considered ambiguous put together. Like, let's say, like, mathematics and the sun. You know. Yeah, like things that you wouldn't put together in a conversation. And those are the kind of things that really, yeah, they're funny. And so working on these designs and all of this, it's really fun, you know, because even the story of it, you can't say that to someone without laughing yourself. Yeah.
Some of the important thing that I noticed, even on your website, even when I visited you at the store, you work with early women and also the single mothers. I had an interview with Flav, the designer of Flav, called Gloria. We talked about her making his impact in the in Rwanda community, helping people who are in need. Why was that important for you to specifically be like, I'm going to choose to work with these kind of women? I'm going to choose to work with single mothers. I'm going to choose to work with elderly women that have no jobs. Why was that important for you to kind of make that specifics?
Well, generally, being a woman is hard. Not the part of being a woman alone, but everything else that politically comes with it. And I would say that I am lucky, and other women of my generation, because we grew up in a time where, the world is like education for a woman, like the emphasis, like women empowerment. But our mothers, they did not have that. They did not have that, and it's hard for them to join the professional workforce to have a career, and then some of them end up being maybe stay-at-home moms, and especially when you go to low-income families or who have no income at all, you know, it's hard for them to even get something because no one is going to employ them when they don't have they're not educated, they don't have like a lot of employability skills, and so they end up being like at the bottom. And I think that's sad, because when we're talking about empowering women, we shouldn't forget the people that are raising us, providing something for us, and who are disadvantaged. So for me, I choose mostly to work with elderly women, or women who are living with disabilities, or single mothers who are from low income families, or yes, who are struggling to make ends meet. So what I'm trying to do is to give them disposable income, or to add to their income, because the women who work with me, if they have something else to do, I will not stop them. Yeah, they're not just, I don't own them. They're not my possessions. They're people who help me live through my dream, and then in return, I also help them, with creating them with employment, giving, paying them, but also, like we have a lot of conversations when we are bidding together, and in there, I am the same as them. I don't view myself as I'm your boss. Like, we sit down together on the mats, we work together, and I learn so much from them. And I realize there is just so much value to these people that we don't see, because we don't allow them to be part of the conversations, to be part of the professional workforce. And I would very much like to, play part in changing that.
What has been the result as working with these women? Do you think their lives have changed? Do you think them working together with you has made an impact not only on them but also to their families, but also to the Rwandan society?
Nothing happens overnight, but I think that the first thing it has changed is their confidence, to know that they're also an important part of society. Yes, they're not washed away, and that's one of the things that made me sad. But also, like, with the, some of them, like, we kind of work out ways of, like, buying their children uniforms, or, it's really just a project of heart, And and I think it has changed my life, but it has also changed mine.
Do you think the fashion industry really gets the bids part of it? Do you think they use it as they should, or do you think people ignore it? They're like into their high fashion things, into their clothes. Do you think they give it the importance that it should be having as someone who's doing that?
I don't think I always wait for people to give me a go ahead. And I believe that what I'm doing it's legit. you know. So there are people who do not see that. That's true. There are always going to be, but there are people who also do, you know. And you know, so even before, like, they didn't have, you know, people would sometimes call me, oh wow, Aline, the girl that does beads. You know, yes, it's beads. It's my base material, but it's not the only thing. It's not just for aesthetics. It's not all about looking pretty. It's not about all that. Yeah. You know, it's what plays in the background. It's like the sleepless nights me and the women I work with spend working on this. You know, and it's about how we bond over each product, new product we're making, and how we exchange ideas and stories. And I think if people cannot believe or are having difficulties in believing in the, you know, like how this can be luxury, how this is worth the money I'm asking them to pay for the product, I guess they can have faith in the story. Yeah.
What has been the challenges that you have met along the way? Because we talked about everything, the way you started, how you're working now. But so far, what has been the challenges and how do you overcome those challenges?
So, you know, like a lot of other dreamers, I started with not so much capital, you know, and it was hard to build around the story I was creating, or the image that I want to give my brand. So that was hard, like really hard, or because I didn't have a physical space before, and I was self-funding my brand. But now I go to places, I pitch, and I get, investment from here, investment from there. And I recently did this Africa Fashion Futures incubator program in Ghana. I'm the only East African designer selected. Yes, and it's not because I am so far into my journey, but it's because they see the potential because of my originality. So that's what I stick to, and that's what I sell.
What's next for you? I saw this red carpet look that you were, I don't know, it's this movie, I think in Berlin or something, looking so great, using, the outfit was beads inspired. So tell us, what's next for you from here, from what you have done? What's next for you and Amik as a brand?
Well, apart from being a fashion designer, I'm also an actress. So the picture is it was at the premiere of a film I acted in. And so what's next for Meek is really to launch and open up, because now I believe I'm more confident to share with the world, not behind like just a website, but I want people to come and experience my journey, our journey, and so then keep going, make it more large scale. And I'm also doing an experiment to make our own beads in pepper and wood, to move away from the made in China plastic beads, and to kind of employ more women, go more to the sustainable side, because that's the future of fashion. That's the future that Amik wants to be part of, to be part of the sustainable fashion industry that also creates more authenticity in how everything we're doing is made.
So you collaborated with Project Sofori in that first campaign video that we saw, and I had an interview with them talking about sustainable and the fashion industry in general. So what do you think, as a fashion designer, what do you think about our fashion industry, the growth of our fashion industry, with so many fashion shows nowadays, so many brands, so many things, fashion events are happening here and there. So what do you think about our industry as someone who have started as a model, you're still, and also like now a fashion designer? What do you think about that?
Rwanda has potential, and I'm glad that I could live in the times where people are allowed to dream, especially in the fashion designing industry, because people would just be like, I mean, who cares about clothes? Like, why are you thinking this is a career, something you would make into a career? And now I think seeing the progress and seeing people being more understanding about the fashion industry and about fashion designing being a way of self-expression as any other, yeah, and how it actually does change, you know, because how you feel when you wear something is something important. And sometimes fashion or through your way of clothing is how people understand and see you. So I am so happy about the progress that I've seen, you know, as I, you know, grew up seeing this, I guess in Kigali, because in my village, they don't even know what fashion is, but it's, it's fine. I think, you know, getting away from there and living in Kigali now and just seeing people fearlessly, you know, go for it, and seeing also the value of it going up is good. It's good. And also the fashion industry, or the fashion economy is perceived to be one of the one of the economic contributors in about 10 years. It will be one of the main economic contributors in Africa, you know, and I'm glad that Rwanda will be part of that. Yes.
So, what would be the advice for every young girl that is actually growing and trying to make a life from his or her dreams? You know, there's so many things that are involved in starting a business, doing what you love. You know, really chasing your dreams. What would be the advice from the fashion view, but also from a growth view? You know, if they're trying to grow and become who they want to be, but also if they want to join the fashion industry, what would be the advice that you have for them ending at this discussion?
There is always a place for them. Yes. There is always a place for every dreamer. So the industry will never be too populated. The industry will never be too, you know, this or that. And every time someone thinks that they can't fit in, that's a good thing, because it means they're bringing a breath of fresh air, and the world needs that. Yeah. So I would say go for it.